Today we're going to look at the foreground select tool, one of the last selection tools we're going to look at. And what we want to do today is just show you how to select an object in the foreground, change the background, delete the background, manipulate. But this tool is kind of cool because it recognizes using that, similar to Photoshop, they use a foreground and background algorithm where they paint red and blue to determine which is which is a kind of a cool thing. In terms of GimpShop, though, they are using two different algorithms. One is called Levin and one's called Global. And I'll explain those in a second. So we're going to select first our file. So open up an image file provided, or one for you're interested in using this for the tutorial. And then we're going to come and grab our foreground select tool just up at the top. And there's a couple things to know. Again, we have, like every mode on selection, we have replace, add, subtract, and insert, intersect. We want to make sure that feathered edges is selected just to give it a soft edge. Some of it may be sticking out. I mean, in this chicken's case, we're probably okay. In other situations, you might have to feather the edge with hair and stuff like that, or jagged edges. We want to be on draw the foreground for now. I'll explain what draw background and draw unknown is later. Your radius for feathered should be around 10 right now, just for the purpose of capturing this. Stroke width, again, adjustable. I'm going to use around 10 at the moment. I'll probably just use this down here. I'm going to do color mode. Again, I'm on, there's two engines here, like I said. There's matting Levin and there is matting Global. Just so everyone does know, what this means is that the sampling method for matting, which separates the background and the foreground, is Levin and Global. So Levin's someone's name, they developed that. Global was a group of people probably that developed it as well. Again, this is an open source program that people can add to or make suggestions to and create content for. So you'll see that sometimes. But basically the idea of matting is it's the procedure for how the foreground is separate and background is separated. On the Levin's matting, for example, there's levels and active levels. And when I see down here, levels and active levels, and that's just for how the algorithm is applied to do the matting. So you can make those adjustments there too with the slider. The other one, which is Global, has similar things, iterations. Again, that's how the algorithm is applied, and you can adjust it there too. We're going to use Levin for this example. Our preview color right now will be blue. And again, you can change that to red. I mean, typical in Photoshop was blue and red. Just see the difference. So basically, we're going to grab our tool, and we've got all of our stuff set up. We're going to come out here. As you can see, when I come off the tool itself, I can see a lasso tool. Similar, and actually is the free select tool in terms of how I'm going to select. So these two are an integrated tool. When doing the foreground selection, I'm actually using the actual function of the free select tool. So in this case, I'm not going to see the dots and lines that I join up. I'm going to hold my left mouse down and continue to select throughout. So as I go, you can see I'm selecting the entire way. I'm not going to go right up to the chicken. I'm just going to go around the chicken gradually. A little bit of an outline around the chicken. I don't need to go directly up to the chicken. The tool reads it. Oh, a little bit close there, but that's okay. I'm just going to dip in here a little bit, down here. And something interesting about GimpShop, you can come down below the lines. You may not have known that before, but you can come down right below the lines. Above, all around the canvas is a little bit of a kind of a blank area that you can't select, but you can bring your tool below it. So I've made my selection. If I hide this now, when I'm selecting, it usually tells me that make a rough outline. So once I've got it selected, make sure that those dots join up. And if you're happy with what you selected, hit enter. And now I've selected my chicken in the foreground. When I hit enter though, if you have a look at my cursor again, now I have the paintbrush. So I need to, it says select down here, select foreground and press enter to preview. I'm looking here when I'm up on the image, this will change. So select foreground and press enter to preview. So I need to now paint in the chicken. My stroke width is 10. See how that looks? Not bad for a small chicken here. I'm just gonna loosely, it doesn't have to be exact, it's a rough painting of the chicken. Come around, just like this. And we've done a rough painting of the chicken. And now I want to fill in the rest. As you can see, when I let go, I get a rough look of the chicken here. I'm going to increase my stroke width to maybe 20 or 18, something like that. And I'm going to fill in the rest of the chicken. Every time I let go of my left mouse button, it will show me what I've selected. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be kind of scribbled on like I'm doing. This is all they need because the program intuitively reads the rest. So just scribble it on, let it know this is the main part of your selection here. Because there's ways to clean up after, we don't have to worry about right now. And there we go. So down here it says select foreground, press enter to preview. So I'm going to hit enter and it's going to decide that that's the chicken. So if you can see, I have some spots where I have green. So this is a good opportunity now to bring ourselves up to 100. And we're going to say, instead of draw from foreground under draw mode over here, we're going to say draw from background. And we are going to paint any of those spots we want to get rid of right up to the chicken. And it will automatically remove them, as you can see. Probably need a smaller brush width. So I'll lower that back down to maybe 12. Oops. Maybe 12 or so. And we'll get in here and get going. You can do as many of these as little strokes as you want to get rid of some of the stuff you don't want. And if you do go too far, you can always go back and do it again and go from there. We'll come down. Select around its legs. Arms. And I'm just going to zoom in control just to get around its beak. Now, if I come back out, I might come down here a little bit too. It's a very accurate tool. That's why it's selecting so much of the green. So I'm going to come back out. I think we need one more spot here. Now that I'm done, I can hit enter to see and apply. And it has basically selected my chicken in the foreground. So the next step I have then is I want to invert that selection because I want to keep my chicken and I want to get rid of the background. So I'm going to hit Control-I to flip it. Now I can do a number of things at this point. Now that I have the chicken selected, I can delete the background. I can come up here and play around with hue, colors, exposures, levels, shadow, and change the background. So what I might do right now, I've hit Control-I, which is the same as select invert. Okay, I've already done that. So I'm now working with the background. I'm going to come up to colors and I'm going to use saturation. I believe I'll use saturation here. And I'm just going to lower the saturation on the background. Give the chicken some pop. Hit OK. And I'm going to hit Control-I again to flip back to the chicken, as you can see. And now I'm back selecting the chicken here. And I'm going to apply a lovely gradient to the chicken. I can choose any kind of gradient here. But I think I'm going to make the gradient rainbow for the chicken. And you just want to bring the gradient across the chicken, just like so. And we've got a lovely chicken. Now I'm just going to back up, Control Z to undo. And we're going to come back to our layers. And we're going to make sure we have add alpha channel. Okay, added, so that we for sure know that we are making our layers transparent, or the option of transparent. And I'm going to create a gradient now on the chicken. And we're going to hit enter. That's one thing we can do. We can do the background if we wanted to. Once we select it, I still have the chicken selected, so I'll Control Invert. And we'll select the background, do the gradient on the background, leave the chicken as it is, and hit enter. And now to deselect all, another shortcut is Control-Shift-A. But I would like you to play around with coloring the chicken or the background. Again, you can do curves, levels, brightness, all kinds of different aspects. Balance, temperature balance. We can also go into deleting the background and replacing the chicken with something, putting something else in its place. Give the chicken some pop and see what you guys can do. Send in your image as it is if you want to share it for the purpose of this tutorial.